my wallet, I'll give it to whoever he wants me to. When you start to view everything you own as like a delivery service for God, instead of being, that's my money, I worked hard for that money. Instead of looking at it like that, planting your feet, instead of that, just saying like, no, everything you drop into my lap, I will find a way to drop it into somebody else's lap. Everything changes. Money doesn't own you. Possessions don't own you. And in fact, it's exciting. I was in Virginia, Minnesota speaking, and somebody glad-handed me. Adults, you know what that is. After I was speaking, somebody came up and shook my hand, and they slipped me money in the palm of my hand. And so when I left, I looked at it, and it was $100. I was like, that's so many breadsticks. This is awesome. I get to eat. So I put it in my pocket, and I drove all the way home, and I didn't think about it at all. I had it in my pocket. And so the next day, the kids were home, and we got in the car, and we were going to this Taco Bell. And at the Taco Bell, it's right on a corner. And so we were in the drive-thru, and I'm looking at the thing, and I hear my son, my 11-year-old, go, Dad, there's a guy with a sign. There's a beggar. And he was excited because we always give. And then the $100 started burning a hole in my pants. And I said, no! X! So I said, Christian, that's my son's name. I said, Christian, you roll down the window and tell the guy to come here. And so he did. And the guy's coming over, and so I handed it to my son. My son's like, Dad, that's... I'm like, shut up. I don't care. And so my son handed, here you go, God bless, sir, and handed it to him. And the guy started to walk away, and he was like, oh my gosh, and he was like half in the car. Like, thank you so much. And he grabbed his stuff, and he ran into the grocery store. And my son got to see that happen. He's like, Dad, that was so awesome. And I'm like, was it? Because I'm not perfect. But every single time in my life that God has presented us with something where he's saying, are you going to pick up your feet or not? Are you going to look at your Wells Fargo account, or are you going to look at me? Are you going to look at your worldly resources, or are you going to look at me? And every single time that I've said, okay, God, whatever, this is so crazy, I'll look at you, everything is miracle. We adopted 2 kids first, 2 brothers. We didn't have any money, but we knew that they needed to be adopted, so we said yes. And like 2 weeks after we said yes to the adoption, I got this contract to write a curriculum, and the amount that they paid me for the contract was exactly what it cost to adopt the kids. I adopted the 2 boys. I get back to America. We land in America. Suddenly with 2, we were married 11 years with no kids, and then one Friday night, we just had kids. Oh, it was psycho. And we made it back to America, and I had $45 to my name. And I was driving up to Minnesota to do a camp with Father Mike. I'm in Indiana. We'd only been back in America for 2 months. I'm driving through Indiana, and I get an email, and it says, oh, by the way, the boy's sister is now up for adoption. Do you want to adopt her? And I decided, like there, on the interstate, no, we don't have any money. We don't have a way to do this. And I get to this camp, and I'm praying before my talk, God, give me the words to say to these kids so that they give their lives to you, and they pick up their feet, and they trust you. And God was like, oh, you're an idiot. You're going to go tell kids about trusting me, and you won't trust me with this actual little girl's life. And I was like, fine. Pick up my feet. And I said, yes, we'll adopt this little girl. And in a 3-week period, 3 weeks from the day we said yes, every dime of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars was in our bank account. I don't know how, people from around the world, people in France, I don't know how they got our email address, I don't know how they ever heard about us. They were emailing us saying, hey, can we give money to help you adopt this kid? We want to be part of the family. People in Nova Scotia, we're going to skip all of our Christmas presents this year and send you all our Christmas money. Miracle after miracle, things that I could never have made happen, but God just said, are you going to pick up your feet and trust me? Are you going to see what real life looks like, what walking on water looks like, or not? And that's your challenge every day of your life. Are you going to take these breaths that God gives you and learn how to give them back? Are you going to take your heartbeat and learn how to bleed out for other people? Are you going to follow in the footsteps of Christ, or are you going to take your own way? You're going to plant your feet. And if you don't know real life in Christ, that's why. Same with me. Every time I'm feeling farther from God, it's because I've planted my feet. And I know it's scary, especially, I bring up money on purpose because money is the one thing we think, no, that's mine. I say everybody should start with money. And not, I noticed before I started, there's a basket in the back, like a free will donation. I'm not saying this so you give to me. I swear, I promise. But I mean in general, in your town, in Rice Lake. If you start to look around and just give, I know it's daunting to pry your fingers off of the things that you like. But as soon as you do, and you see them as presents to give to other people, it doesn't matter like it used to. Suddenly your eyes are up a lot easier than they used to be. Suddenly life is flying along. When I was on the road with this theater group, we were traveling all over the country. We were in Indiana on the Wabash River. Anybody ever been to the Wabash? Good, it's a horrible place. It's a terrible river. It's a big, wide, putrid river. But we were doing our event, and then they were like, okay, we're done for the day. You want to go tubing? And I was like just 21-year-old innocent Nick. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I didn't know this, but you probably do. You should never go tubing behind a boat of a man you don't know. That seems like logic, but it did not seem like that to me. So I'm in my little swim trunks, and I'm like, okay, hi. And so I got in the river, and I grab onto the little thing attached to the boat, and he's like, you're a dead man! And then he just took off. And we're going like 90 miles an hour on this river, and I remember, like, this is how I die. I just knew I was on my way out. We're bouncing along, we're flying along the river, and then the guy's like, I know how to kill him. And so he like a real tight curve. And if the boat turns, then on the outside of the arc, the inner tube just breaks the sound barrier. Just no. Everything slows, and I was bouncing along on the outside, and as I'm bouncing, a wave caught the inner tube, and it was gone. But I'm not smart enough to let go. So I was just bouncing along on my behind, just bouncing along, and then a wave caught my swim trunks, and they were gone. Just pasty white Midwestern Nick, just slapping on the water. And I remember thinking, why am I not sinking? I was just skipping across the water. And these are my feet, and I'm bouncing, and between my legs, all of me, I see between my feet, I pan past the shore, and there was a youth group of 30 kids watching me. Just vomiting and taking pictures and vomiting. It was the most embarrassing moment of my entire existence. And following Jesus is like that. I'm serious. Following Christ is him just saying, come on, come out here, come out onto the water. You gotta trust me, step in. Yeah, it's gonna get crazy for a while, let's go. And then he takes off. And there are times in my life when I have had people who are on the shore, and as I fly by, they're going like, please don't become Catholic, Nick. Please don't do this. Please. You're gonna wound your family. You're gonna betray all of us. Why would you do this? Please don't adopt this girl. You don't have any money. Please don't do this. And I'm flying by, just no trunks on, ankles up in the air. And every time it's worth it. And I want to challenge you guys. If you will, step in. Scary as it is, sit down and grab on. As a teenager, as a grown-up, if you will pick up your feet and let him take you through life, you will. You'll have rapids, absolutely. You'll have waterfalls sometimes. Sometimes you're in the valley of the shadow of death, whipping through the dark. But if you do hold to Christ, if you'll trust him, the only one who is actually trustworthy, and you pick up your feet and let him take you where you will, he will take you through all of those, the highs and the lows and the drop-offs and everything, right through your death, full headlong, right into the throne of heaven. And you'll come through that, and you'll get to those shores in heaven, and you'll step off at the throne of God, and you'll turn around, and there will be multitudes of people behind you who followed you. Because they were on the shore. They were punching their mask card. They were bored. They had no clue, and they saw you just, woo, fly by. Not caring at all what the world said, but walking on water. That's what we're called to do as Catholics. If you want to fully come alive, you don't even stop at just, what can God give to me? You continue into real life with, how can I give it to the world? If greater love hath no man than to give his life for his friends, then how can I do the same? And I know it's daunting. I know it can be scary. I know you think, like, I don't know how I would do that. That's missionary stories. I don't know how I'm going to go into Rice Lake and do that. You don't need to know how. You just have to be willing to do it. You don't need to know how he's going to work things out. You just have to trust that he will. And I'll close with this. When I was traveling from St. Cloud to Eau Claire, I promise, it's like 3 minutes and then I'm done. I would go into Eau Claire. She's over there. She has a 9mm. Does she always have that? That's like your 5-minute warning. And I was on I-94 going to Eau Claire. I was speaking in Eau Claire. And it was nighttime, and I'm driving along, and it's 8 lanes, so it's 4 lanes in one direction and 4 in the other direction. We're driving along, and I didn't see the accident happen, but I saw the half second after it happened. So I didn't see the actual impact, but I saw the bumper go flying, and I saw the 2 cars go each way. I saw all the cars swerving, and I'm a Catholic speaker. I don't have any skills of any kind except for just talking too long. And so but something came over me. And so I swerved around the cars, and I pulled over to the side, and I hit my flashers, and I got out, and I just started running towards, like, in traffic. I'm like, my mom expected me to die this way. This is what she always told me about. And I started running towards the traffic, and all I had was what most people have with them at any point. It's just a little iPhone flashlight. And I'm like, and I'm waving, and I'm running, and so I came upon the one car, and it was all crumpled, and the lady was in there, and I'm like, ma'am, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I just can't get out, I'm okay. And another guy had run up. And so I said, sir, take care of this woman. Like I knew what I was doing. And then I just took off into the 4 lanes, waving my light. And I'm waving, and I'm like, turn, slow down, don't kill me. And something crazy happened. They started to obey me. Oh yeah. I'm doing this, and 18-wheelers are like, okay, I'll pull over, no problem. So I'm waving like this, and then a highway patrolman comes up, and he's like, is that the only light you have? And I said, yeah. And he said, not anymore. And he gave me his mag light. That has the glory of God inside of it. That is a lightsaber on earth. And he handed it over, and I'm like, thank you, officer. And I'm waving, and then I got cocky, because I'm like, yeah, you better pull over. I have the glory of God in a flashlight. And I'm waving, and then this other guy pulls up, and he's like, sir, do you need a vest? And I thought he meant because it was cold, and I'm like, no, I don't need oh, yes, I need a vest. And he gave me a reflective vest. So now I glow in the dark, and I have a lightsaber. And everyone's obeying me. And I was waving traffic, I'm kicking bumpers off and lights and junk off to the side. And then another cop comes up, and he's like, do you have any cones? I'm like, no, sir, I don't have any cones. And he gave me cones. And I'm setting them out and waving and setting and kicking. And this is not a lie. A 4th state trooper comes up and said, do you know how to use flares? And I said, I do now. And he gave me a box of dynamite-looking flares. I was on fire. Just whoosh, whoosh. Ah! For about 25 minutes, I controlled I-94. It was amazing. And once everything was in control and everything, I turned around, and all 4 cops were leaning on the hood of their car. I'm not dissing Wisconsin State Patrols, but what the heck, man? And I walked up, and no lie, they're on the car, and as I walked up, the lead one turned around and went, good job, son. And he dipped his hat at me. I was like, you're dang right, officer. So like, whoosh, and I handed his mag light back, and then I kept the glow-in-the-dark vest, and I ran for the hills. I still have it. I keep it with me all the time. And I tell you that story not just because that is stinking awesome, but also because that's actually what God wants us to do in life. That's it. You can leave tonight. You don't need the resources that are going to be needed. You don't have to have your arms full of all the tools you will need in life. That's God. He takes care of that. He has all the resources, all the assets, all the money in the bank. All of that is at his disposal because he's a miraculous God. The only thing he cannot do is make you say yes. He can't make you trust him. He can't make you pick up your feet. So all he's asking is, listen, I want you to run into traffic, okay? That's it. I want you to get in the river and just trust me that I will take care of you. I want to take you through life so that people look at you and say, there has to be a God, because there's no way that worked out.